And welcome back to Retrospect My Fantasy, where we are currently taking a look at the Final Fantasy franchise from beginning to end, and we're currently on installment number 13. Now, before we get back into this game, we've got a couple things to go over, and that is, number one, we are partners with Humble. So if you take that link that I put right there in chat, what that'll do is that'll take you to the Humble homepage, where you can browse the Humble bundles, many of which are amazing deals. Sign up for Humble Monthly, which is always an amazing deal. It's $12 a month, and you get about $120 worth of games, roughly speaking. Or you can go to the Humble store, where they frequently have amazing sales outside of the normal sale season. So if you're interested in picking up a game, please take that link right there, because not only will you pick yourself up an awesome game, you'll also support some amazing charities, and you'll help support this channel. Now, one last thing before we get into the game, and that is that on Saturday, we are having a bonus stream and giveaway, where I will be playing Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3, giving away a copy of said game, along with a copy of a personal favorite of mine, Psychonauts, and 3 $20 Steam gift cards. So please join us. If you need to set yourself a reminder, if you take that link right there that I just put in chat to the events page, you can set one right there. Now, last time on Final Fantasy 13. Last time on Final Fantasy 13, what happened? We found out that Zaz and Vanille were taken by the Sanctuary and taken to their flagship, in which we have snuck aboard, and we are currently infiltrating on our way to rescue them and hopefully kill the leader of the Sanctuary, which, I mean, aside from some good old-fashioned revenge, might do something, or maybe not. We don't really know. We're just kind of playing it by ear at the moment. So you may recall that we ended in this corridor with all these people ahead of us. I've done a little bit of grinding. I bought a whole bunch of new equipment, and the most important thing that happened is, if you may recall, when we left off, the Axii Blade was only level 7. Well, now it's level 12. And gives plus 30, or no, plus 20 to magic and attack, so it's a rather powerful weapon now. And it's also our only weapon that's actually been leveled up. Aside from that, I picked up some tungsten bangles to improve the overall health of our parties. Also have just in general leveled up a fair amount, so when we eventually do get Vanille and Zaz back on our team, we will have a lot of experience to go through. Also, the fact that these guys can remove certain characters' abilities to use certain things is a giant pain in the butt. It's probably the most annoying thing right now. Well, that guy got murdered. Don't know how. Well, I mean, presumably it was with our spells, but don't know who. Oh, also, we've picked up a lot of incentive chips, and that's pretty much what allowed us to do all this stuff. Also, these ladies, still a giant pain in the butt, despite all the upgrades we've made to our team. The real key, though, is if it's just one or two of them, just be hyper-aggressive, and it'll be okay. Because they actually don't have that many hit points. They just have a whole lot of defenses thanks to their boosted well, since they're boosted for defenses with Protect and Shell. Alright, so yesterday I mentioned at the end of the stream that today we would talk a little bit about cyberization. Which, if you don't know what cyberization is, I will give a brief explanation. That is effectively replacing the human body with mechanical devices that serve similar or better purposes than the limbs or organs that they're replacing. So, for instance, at least that's the intent. But it could be, like, right now we have very simple cyber arms, legs,
nothing I can't handle.
to a lesser extent, hearts, livers, although I wouldn't exactly call dialysis the highest grade of cyberization. But that's essentially the general concept, is replacing the human body with mechanical things that perform the same function, but maybe do it better, or at least roughly the same. And the reason I brought this up is because we were talking yesterday a little bit about, like, genetic manipulation and things of that matter. And this is kind of another similar field of science. And the reason I say it's similar is because a lot of things that we're doing around the world in terms of not so much genetic engineering, but like cloning, says we can't clone whole humans. In pretty much every country that I'm aware of, cloning whole humans is considered illegal. Now, with that being said, there are in many countries, especially in Europe, from my understanding, granted, I did not have an opportunity to look into the current state of these developments. At least in the... There was a time period where cloning whole humans was still considered amoral and illegal, but potentially cloning body parts for the purposes of, like, organ transplants, or even, like, bone marrow transplants, things of that nature, was considered okay, because we're not actually doing anything that the cells wouldn't otherwise do normally. And it's not a whole person, so we don't have to worry about, like, brain functionality. Is this the right way? I don't think it is, because there's a treasure over there that's already
Keep your mind on the battle.
or been picked up. But cyberization is the other field that's doing similar things. Right now, at least in the States, it is considered the option to do those things that in other countries they're attempting to use small amounts of cloning for. I personally have always been fascinated with the idea of cyberization. I think that although it is not necessarily the best solution to things like replacing limbs or organs or anything like that, I think it is the far more badass version. But it also brings up other concerns. So, for instance, we currently live in a world where a lot of people feel threatened and want security. Well, with cyberization, if I had my eye replaced with a cyber eye that could do all... I mean, that just means it's a camera that is feeding electrical signal to my brain. Well, what's to stop that camera from being Bluetooth enabled? And instead of sending signal to my brain, it could be sending that signal to a hard drive somewhere, or a phone, and recording it and saving it all for later. Espionage tactics certainly become a lot more aggressive. And there's also lots of other, like, tertiary things that need to be considered, like nerves. Like, so you get a cyber arm. How are we going to do that? Are we going to do the muscle pads like we do now that are essentially electrical controlled through muscle impulse pads that allow you to like do things like move the wrist or move the fingers kind of open and closed, real basic stuff? Or are we going to eventually get to the point where we're doing full nerve connection so that you're just literally controlling these cyber parts with your brain as if they were normal? I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? Is to make it as normal for the person who has to use it as possible. But then we get into materials and we get into... All you'd have to do is look at classic cyberpunk to see
Keep the enemy off them.
where some of these things can go. The most classic thing that we see in cyberpunk fiction is what's often referred to as the street samurai, which is the super cybered out soldier who's replaced most of their body parts with cyber replacements, including lots of things like hidden weapons, endo, God, what am I thinking? Under the skin. So like an endoskeleton made out of like some really tough material like Kevlar. I mean, in role-playing games and movies, they always make it, you know, like Kevlar or steel or something like that, which isn't practical because then it doesn't allow for like moisture to pass through it, and our body is, you know, still mostly water. So
Thanks. Time for another approach.
But if you had a cyber arm, it'd be very easy to have a hidden blade, if nothing else. A very small holdout pistol hidden in there. And then we get into like battery sources, like what do these things use? Or do they use like current lithium or lithium-ion batteries? So then you have to recharge them occasionally. It's a whole mess. But it has a lot of intriguing possibilities. Oh, did we push through and get that? And then, yeah, I think we did, didn't we?
Attention all crew, code green. Repeat, code green. Security forces stand by. Hostile forces on board, code green.
Uh-oh. That does not look pleasant.
You're being moved. On your feet, scum. You too.
Scum? Wow. Wow. Zaz. Way to go, Vanille. Damn. She really wrecked that thing.
All right, time to split. Not run. There's a difference.
Gotcha.
Let's go.
So the question becomes, like, is it ethical? Is cyberization ethical? Like, and how far do we take it? What are the limits that we are willing to go in modifying the human body beyond its original form?
What? You'd rather die?
What?
Are we willing to go full
That's kinda
cyberpunk
scary.
like Deus Ex or Ghost in the Shell,
Scares me.
or are we
Scares
only
me
willing
so
to go halfway there,
die of
like
fright.
a Johnny Mnemonic or
So, I'll push myself to live even harder.
Neuromancer, where people can have like
I can just imagine
parts of
Dodge
computers in their body,
laughing at me talking this
and
nonsense.
some things can be replaced, but there are definitely
Right now,
limits on how much you can do,
I'd do anything to
or
see you
like,
smile.
and what's the ultimate goal of these
Stay
things?
positive, right?
Are we doing cyberization just because it's an alternative to cloning materials?
Careful.
Because if that's the only reason why we're really approaching cyberization as opposed to cloning self for, or allowing people to clone certain body parts to... Oh, apparently we just completely skipped Spark Strike. Sorry, Spark Strike. I mean, so what are you guys' thoughts on it? Because I think cyberization is awesome, and I can't wait to be totally cybered out. But I also know that, I mean, like, in many... in particularly in pen and paper RPGs, there's usually something that goes along with cyberization, where it's like, if you replace too much of your body, or even your brain, with certain things, there's usually, like, cyberpsychosis, or some sort of, like, insanity that people have to worry about, because... especially when they start getting towards, like, replacing parts of their brain. Because they actually have to literally go in, remove parts of the brain, and replace them with these artificial bits. Hey, rise. There we go. A real spell. I mean, I personally don't think that cyberization is going to really be a factor in human society within my entire lifetime. Not in any meaningful way. I mean, I would like it to be. If only so that I can experience it, or at least see where it's going. But it's not something that I would anticipate seeing. And of course, it's going to be expensive as all get out. There's no way of getting anywhere around that. Let's see here. What do we need for paradigms? You know what? That works. Alright, so that was a whole lot of spending of XP. Let's go ahead and save. My thoughts on cyberization is, it's awesome. I totally want it to happen, but we need to be careful with it, just like we need to be careful with any sort of AI endeavors that we approach, because, well, if you're not careful with these things, they come back to bite you in the ass. This guy in his rescue helmet is kind of annoying. But then again, so were all the sirens that we had to deal with before in the last areas. I think one of the biggest things that we need to worry about with cyberization is the societal effects. Because initially it's going to be really expensive, so only people with money, like serious amounts of money, will be able to get it, and it will create a greater class divide. It's just another haves, have-nots situation. We also need to make sure that people who do get cyberization aren't exploited. And we need to make sure that, like, the protections on these things, especially if anything is network capable, in cyberization, it needs to have the highest level of encryption security, because... So imagine this for a moment. Imagine you got cyberized. You got blinded, or there was an accident, or maybe you just wanted cyberize. So you went and got yourself some cyberize.
They always have to make these things more complicated than they need to be.
So, with your cyber eyes, you go and, you go to a restaurant, you go to the movies, and after a couple weeks, you start noticing something. Maybe you don't really think about it, because it doesn't, whatever it is, doesn't show up very often, and humans are really good at, like, our brains are really good at ignoring things that are there all the time, so, you just kind of put up with it. And then you start noticing it more and more. And it turns out that your eye was hacked and now has adware in it. Also, this is complete bullshit, the fact that he could turn his 2 little SMGs into a sniper rifle. I mean, it's totally awesome in concept, but... So now you have a bunch of adware playing in your eyes. All the time. Non-stop. I mean, people get annoyed with stuff in their, like, getting ads in their email, getting spam. Imagine if that was playing in your ocular cavity non-stop. You know what, we're gonna get rid of you. Because you, Flanatar, are really annoying with your sirens and your healing. But only being able to heal other Flans, so that'll be pretty easy to get rid of. Although Vanille's kind of getting her butt whooped here. Okay.
Watch and learn, kid.
Don't give up.
Didn't even have to ask.
Thank you, Vanille.
Thanks, Vanille.
Or you have a cyber arm. Your arm got removed in a car accident. So you got a cyber arm.
Didn't even have to ask.
But it gets a virus. At some point. I don't know why it would need to be network connected aside from potentially monitoring by like the doctors or something like that. But whatever the purpose. It gets a virus. And now, your cyber arm, all it does is open and close with full strength. Whatever that happens to be, because, of course, in Cyberpunk, whenever you get a cyberization, it's not, like, equivalent human strength. It's like 5 times the strength of a man. Because in Cyberpunk, you always need to be way better than a normal human. So everything you grab, you just complete, like, you'll figure it out pretty quickly, and you'll try to stop grabbing things, but you're gonna forget every once in a while. You're gonna, like, grab a doorknob just through automatic response, and then you won't have a doorknob anymore. But right now, like, that's just the examples of things that we need to be careful about. But right now, what they're working on is control methods for cyberization. Right now, mostly what they're doing is they're mostly, for inexpensive ones, they're using 3D printers to 3D print something that's mostly looks like an arm. In bright colors or nondescript colors or whatever you really want. And then they're using, I don't remember what they're actually called, but there's those little sticky pads. They put them all over your arm, and essentially, these are for the nicer ones that actually have like motors in them. And when you flex your muscles in your arms like you would normally, it has a tiny computer that it knows what these responses are from you and translates those to the motors to make the arms perform whatever action. But is that going to be good enough? I think so. I think it'll be good enough, and I think that's more or less everything that we're going to be doing from science-wise in the States for quite a while is going to be revolving around the cyberization of the human body. I don't think we'll ever really get to the anything involving the brain, because right now we're still trying to figure out, just in general, really, like, a lot of the functions within the brain. The brain is a really complex thing, and we're still having a hard time with that one. So I don't think we'll be really, like, removing pieces of people's brain and replacing them with computer chips anytime soon. So, no couriers like Johnny Mnemonic. At least not for a while. Which, by the way, if you've never seen Johnny Mnemonic, it's a great movie starring Keanu Reeves. Oh, it's an okay movie starring Keanu Reeves that has probably one of my favorite rants of any protagonist in a movie near the end. He just wants his shirts pressed. I can't remember it all, but it's definitely one of my favorite protagonist rants in any movie. And the whole point of, and the whole thing in that movie is certain people get into, like, debts or whatever, and, well, they need jobs to pay off these debts. So what happens
This thing's gonna keep us out.
is they'll sign up for a job as a courier. And usually what this means is they get some small weapon to protect themselves. And then they usually have a portion of their body replaced to help facilitate in this role as a courier. Now, in the case of Johnny Mnemonic, he's had a piece of his brain replaced. And he's had a flash hard drive put in. So, a solid state drive, but a small one. Because if you remember, one thing you gotta remember is this movie was made in the... Oh god, I don't even think it was in the 90s. If it was barely in the 90s. So they really, like, a lot of memory was, like, a couple gigs. Like, that was a lot of memory. And then he used a thing that's called a doubler, which is essentially just a compression device that more or less doubles his capacity. But he still takes too much data in, and that
Let's hurry.
starts seeping into the rest of his brain and totally messing with it. And he's got to get the data out within a certain amount of time, or his brain will effectively start leaking out of his nose and ears.
All right, now you're talking. Let's go.
It's a really interesting movie, totally worth watching. The Ghost in the Shell animated movies, very good. The cartoon, or the television show, very good. I haven't seen the live-action movie yet, but I've heard that it's
Means we're doing our job.
mediocre,
Psychom guys nervous.
and that it borrows too much from
Anil.
that it borrows too much from the from the animated movies.
There's not even time to
So take that for what you will. That tells me that I will probably kind of like it. Not gonna get to water. Just barely. But if you look into cyberization, not the theories based on like science fiction writers, but the actual scientific theories behind cyberization, essentially what you end up with is, this is really neat, but we really don't know what we're doing. So we're taking it very slow to try and not screw it up. Because they don't want to ruin anybody's, like, nerve structure or anything like that by totally jacking into their life and essentially hooking their nerves up to a computer with a battery that might, like, I don't want to say, like, melt down or go critical, but might somehow hurt them. That's a lot of boys. A lot of very spicy boys. Huh? Dang. We lost our 3 times bonus. Let's see here. Resist damage 5%. So just in general. Wow, that's really powerful. Sure, let's go ahead. And use that on these vibrant oozes and be out. Look at that. We didn't do a damn thing. Should probably save.
We fight?
This is going to be a rough fight. You know what? Let's do evening odds.
Thanks.
Let's do a whole bunch of defensive and offensive status effects. Ooh, slow Aga. Yes. Yes, Fang, yes. And as soon as Fang has protect. Alright.
For another approach.
Let's go back to screwing these guys over. We've got, in general, physical defense and increased defense against fire attacks, which is what these guys do. So we should be, relatively speaking, okay. And they're all slowed, so hopefully that'll help. Although, these guys do hurt. Pretty badly, actually. Even with the defensive measures. I kind of wish the AP gathering effect from this weapon went up with the level. Because we get AP every time we attack with it, but... Which just in general saves is just a time saver. That's all that effect is. But I wish it would grow with the level, because then it would be... well, right now it would be kind of ridiculous. No, we need to end this guy. Or we need to hope just survive. Surviving would be nice. I'll take survival right now.
Don't worry.
But going back to cyberization, I personally think that cyberization is kind of the next, I don't want to say evolution of humanity, because it's not a natural thing, but I think it's the next, like, big improvement upon that is headed for humanity.
Come on then.
But then again, there's nothing saying that, I mean, tools and adaptation go hand in hand, so I guess cyberization is a kind of evolution, if you want to use that term. I mean, the better term is just adaptation.
Keep the enemy off balance.
And it doesn't necessarily, because the whole point of natural selection adaptation is that, or at least the theory of adaptation through natural selection, is that those who have the adaptation best suited for their environment are more likely to procreate and have offspring because they're more likely to survive and be healthier in their environment. And there's nothing saying that cyberization will necessarily do that. In fact, in a way, it might actually hinder that, depending on how society ends up viewing cyberization once we get around to it. Because one thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that humans, on the whole, are social animals that require society to thrive. Or I shouldn't say society, social interaction to thrive. That's why people who tend to live alone for long periods of time, or not live alone, but be alone for long periods of time, tend to develop various psychoses, because our brain isn't really meant to handle being alone for long periods of time.
Change of plan.
This is the one I
Time
wanted.
for another approach.
This is the one that I wanted. But in all truthfulness, whether we go towards cyberization or towards personal body part cloning, either route is incredibly fascinating and totally badass. And I hope that we get to see one or both of these before. Well, I personally hope to get to see one or both of these before I die, but I'm not holding my breath. Alright, now we need to get this guy staggered, because he's getting ready to get into the phase where he's able to use... Okay, never mind, he's in it. Alright, well, time to end him. So I gave, god damn it, Fang. So I gave some more thought to the idea of having effectively a second stream once a week, same time slot, but just a different theme, really. And that theme being effectively creative writing for the purposes of Dungeons and Dragons. I even came up with a name and did a little bit of research to see if that name would work. And I think it will. It's really close to the name of a book, so I've got to be careful on exactly how I market it and how I choose to present it. That's not cool. I don't like these guys.
You looking at me?
These these Vespid soldiers are not cool. Cyclone, huh? Yeah, that's not cool, man. Although, fortunately, lightning does a whole hell of a lot of damage.
New strategy.
I've also been looking into, because I don't think that, because there's going to be a lot of downtime while I'm actually like writing or manipulating art assets or anything like that while doing this idea. So I've been looking into
Out of my way.
music that I can play during the stream, and just this year Twitch put out a whole list of music that is okay to play on streams. They're specifically their Spotify channels, but hey, you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. Ooh, that looks interesting. I mean, we fought one of those before, but not with these Vespid soldiers. And if I can just take care of these Vespid soldiers, maybe... Oh, that doesn't look good, that photon burst. That did significantly more damage than I like. And I was actually thinking about making it more than just this D&D thing, is maybe taking it even further into just kind of game design in general. Because I've had some ideas for some other like design-y projects, game design-y projects. And if it, depending on how well it works off with this D&D thing, it could all, like the writing part, it could also turn into the stream where I play D&D or various other RPGs. I mean, there's here. What are some pen and paper RPGs that I've played recently, or relatively recently? There's Pathfinder / D&D. Call of Cthulhu, Eternity, Shadowrun, 40K, and Break Action. I want to say there was another one. I want to say at some point in the recent history we played a superhero one, but that might have been a while farther back than I'm intending to recall. Alright, so how badly do we want those other items? We probably want those other items. They're not gonna tease us with these items if they're not gonna be at least useful. back to evening the odds. Make this happen. Because this is a good thing to have happen. And hopefully, Fang will actually be able to slow them all. Because if not, that could be a real pain in the butt. And does he have anything else he can do? Shell? Not that important. Not here. We're not exactly casting a whole bevy of spells on us or anything. And unfortunately, the best thing can do at the moment as a saboteur is slowing the enemy. Soon enough, she'll be able to do more. And the reason I'm trying to concentrate on this so much is because I kind of want to get through this game quickly. But if you guys have anything to bring up in the conversation about cyberization, please do. This is an open forum. Well, nearly open. I kind of want to keep specific politics out of things, specific world politics. If you want to talk about just general political theory, I'm down for that, but... Alright, Fang. Ah. He's totally gonna ruin someone's day with thermal discharge. A blitz against only one guy? Not super effective. Should we go back and reapply all of our bonuses to ourselves? Perhaps. Perhaps. That is always the question, isn't it? How far are we willing to push ourselves before we need to go back and rebuff and debuff? Alright. Everybody's back up. Time to fight. Every once in a while, you know, we just gotta take a break from the fighting, man. It's rough being a combatant all the time. We just gotta, you know, take care of one another. Meanwhile, Fang is beating up one guy for pretty much this entire fight. I mean, that's not entirely true. She was initially beating up on the guy, this Viking B that we're fighting now. And then once we started fighting Viking B, she went over to Viking C. So, you know. These sorts of things happen, you know? Alright, come on. That was a good hit. And we dodged a thermal discharge. Even better. Although Hope got hit pretty bad. Come on. Good thing Fing's a tough gal. Because otherwise, we would be screwed.
Come on then. Keep a cool head.
If it was just Lightning and Hope. I mean, I guess we also have, you know, what's his name in the trench coat who totally wants to be the hero, but is not. He's not. Unfortunately, this fight's going to be over soon. Not as soon as I would like. Actually, no, I haven't checked our Crystarium points in a while. It's probably a fair few. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Alright, game. Fine. Fine. I see. I get it. Don't worry. Ravager. And she finished Sentinel, right? Yep, now we're on Commando. Strength 6, that's a lot of strength. She's 207. What's Lightning at? 243. She's getting up there with Lightning. So. And she doesn't have a highly leveled weapon to compensate. So she's probably actually straight stronger than Lightning right now. Did we get there? Did we get them before they noticed? Damn, nope.
Back me up.
Alright, well, take out these guys with their really big rifles. Now, I don't know if they're using, like, explosive rounds or what, but not only, I mean, it would seem so that there's an explosion after they shoot, so I don't know. Putting explosive rounds out of an assault rifle seems really dangerous. I'm just saying. You know, if you're a little too close to the enemy, I mean, these guys are taking single shots, but earlier we saw Vanille steal one of these rifles and shoot one of these Vesper things. So.
Nothing I can't handle.
That's good. Alright. Well, one of these things is down. I still call BS that we can't stagger enemies just because they're flying. Or, not stagger, launch enemies just because they're flying. They're not flying at the full height of the arena. Why can't we knock them up? Right, chondrocyte? Is that even a word? Alright, yeah, we'll take the Huntress. She's more dangerous than the giant robot in the long run. The giant robot can't block us from using our own abilities. got this. Good. Good.
Here.
Thanks.
So, if any of you are fans of cyberpunk fiction, I'm sure you've read things like Neuromancer and oh god, how could I forget the name of the book? The main character's name is Hero Protagonist. Which is either incredibly lazy or incredibly clever. And I'm gonna go with the former. It's probably incredibly lazy on the author's part.
Keep a cool head.
Snow Crash. But Snow Crash in general is an okay story. But the same author that wrote Snow Crash wrote probably my favorite cyberpunk book, in the fact that it is kind of post-cyberpunk, called Diamond Age, a young lady's illustrated primer. Or as we say in the States, primer. But it's a great, great story. Takes place in a world post-cyberpunk. So the things that largely identify cyberpunk, which is massive corporations that rule the world, to the point where there really aren't governments, and there's only two classes of people. Really, there's the incredibly rich and the incredibly poor. And the incredibly poor in cyberpunk are the ones that are usually performing the crimes. They're usually some sort of burnout or junkie or something to that effect. And they're the heroes, because they're the ones that are getting trod on and pushed down, and so they have to overcome.
On your toes.
Alright, so yeah, we're gonna get rid of the raiders first, because although this other guy hits harder, the raiders are far easier to kill. Ooh. Getting in some of that good damage. What was that? BS is what it was. Not being able to perform physical attacks anymore. I mean, I guess I could just, go and pick up the curative spells for that sort of thing. Or if I go over to this, hopefully, Hope will give us a little bit of Asuna, which will take care of that whole pain thing. Oh good. Lightning's no longer in pain and can now physically attack enemies. Why is the ability that prevents us from physically attacking enemies called pain? Wish I could answer that. Alright, so once we pick up this item, I think we'll have all the items in this room, and we'll just move on to the next area. Also, we'll have a whole bunch of incentive chips and whatnot that we can sell and hopefully make money to get, I don't know, something. I mean, I spent all of our last amount of money on upgrading Lightning's weapons, so just kept on buying ingredients and... Or that's not true. I didn't spend it all. Mostly what I spent it on was actually upgrading our gear so that pretty much everyone was wearing a titanium bangle as opposed to like iron and silver. So that's what I actually spent most of the money on. And then I bought a few weapon upgrade things to see how high I could get Lightning's weapon, because I figured it was, you know, only going to get to like level 10. And then we would use one of those transformative things and it would turn it into something else. Nope. I was wrong. I mean, it made sense to me that that's what would happen. You know, hitting level 10, then using that, and then it's a new thing. We have to level that up to level 10. But it's a new thing based on the old thing. That's all the items, yes. Alright, we'll get through... What time is it? 8 o'clock. Alright, well... We'll hopefully get through these guys pretty quickly. And then we can... I mean, all things considered, these guys do not take damage quickly, but hopefully we can get through them relatively quickly and then push forward into whatever the next area is. I was hoping that we finish this chapter tonight, but depending on how much we have left, we might not finish it till tomorrow night. So, even though these chapters are... Even though we're through most of the chapters in the game, these chapters are getting longer, so I actually don't know how far into the game we actually are. Time to even the odds. Oh boy. Come on. Come on, Fang. I really need you, or Fang, I really need you to get some serious defenses on us real fast. Alright. Now let's take down... A, is it? Let's see. Let's take down C. Now that we're as defended as we can possibly be, for a few minutes anyway. Actually, not even a few minutes, like a minute. Is it just me, or do these things kind of remind you of armor cores? Or rather, I should say, the mechs from Armored Core. Like they're walking on tiny little spindly, reverse jointed legs. They kind of jet around a whole bunch. They have a shield and a melee weapon. Although the shield and melee weapon is definitely kind of standards in Japanese mech design, so maybe that doesn't really mean anything. Who knows? Oh hey, look at that. Let's do a little bit of healing. this one is hurt more. Thank you, Fang. Thank you, Fang, for continuously beating up on this one. I mean, not really getting anywhere, but you tried. You tried hard, actually. Good job, Fang. Who is now switched from A and going over to B. Because of course Fang is. We can't consolidate the damage. That would be too simple. Again, another reason why I wish we were actually in the Gambit system. Oh well. Yeah, hope you are not quite pulling your weight right there. Nice dodge. Completely by accident. Please stop blitzing. I mean, I could just take a bit more of a direct control, but that would just be too much of a pain. It's not really that worth it. Alright, Fan, I need you to completely distract that guy and beat the crap out of him while we hopefully tear this one into tiny little robot bits. Or, if this is like Sonic, not robot bits, but tiny little animal bits inside a giant robot. Because for some reason, that's what Dr. Eggman did. Was put tiny little animals like chipmunks and small fishes into comparatively giant robots that somehow twisted their thoughts into attacking you. Or maybe it was just like if they were metal. I don't know. Very weird ideas in that game. Alright. We've almost got him. Come on, guys. Hope. There we go. Alright, now he's done for. I hope, Jesus. If he's not, then we'll actually be like legit. I'll be legit worried if we don't finish him off with this. Because then he has way more hit points than I was accounting for. Alright, good. Good. So that only took 6 minutes. Although we got 3 perfect conductors. So maybe that was worth it. Because those are worth like 2,000 weapon experience each. Useful. Alright, so that's fine. There we go. She's now a really good Ravager as well. And not really much of a medic. But, you know, you can't be great at everything. And she's really good at murder. And not murder isn't really a strong point of hers. You know, everybody has their strengths. Come on. So close. One of the few things that, like, actually aggravates me is being that close to a level up and not being able to get it. This one less so, because we don't actually get anything from the roll level up. At least I don't think we get anything from the roll level up. I don't recall getting anything. It's not like it automatically earns you the next section. We have to wait for specific story moments for that.
Colonel, we've lost the intruders.
Well, that's not good.
That means we're code yellow. No, wait. Code blue? If we were orange, that would mean...
The escapees made it through. They're entering the engine room.
No. Damn the sea.
Intruders located. They're on the weather deck, starboard side.
Okay, well, good job.
Make it rain.
Desperate times demand flexibility.
Yes, they do.
Code white.
What does code white mean? Actually, we don't know what any of those codes mean. All we know that is they start at code green, and then go to code purple, and then who knows what.
Power's down. What's going on?
They're gonna crash it. Are we going Gundam on this? Are we gonna just crash this thing into the planet and murder everybody? Alright, he's got all that. Alright, now he's maximized synergist. Now, more commandos. It'll be good for Zaz. Zaz needs a little bit more, bolster attack or ruin at head of attack queue when targeting, when target's chain gauge is empty. Interesting. Okay. And her stats are woefully weak compared to our other team. But that's what it is. Alright, more saboteur. Dang. Almost got that second accessory slot. Oh well. See an item over there. Don't see one over there. That doesn't mean there isn't one over there, though. Just don't see it. So let's go get this item. What? What, Vanille? Something wrong? This guy. Good job. That was a lot. That was all. Actually, that was a lot of damage. And the fact that it is. Ooh. All right. Good, 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 good. Now,
Thanks, Vanille.
let's keep this train wrecker rolling. Vanille, please heal thyself.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't even have to ask.
I mean, I guess I... No, I had to ask. Because otherwise you wouldn't have done anything. You sort of stood there. These guys are kind of rough. Oh, I guess I should probably... Do I have... I do not have the equivalent of this, but with Ravager instead of Commando. I will need to make that.
Thanks, Vanille.
Because these Flan are weak to magic, not so much physical. But we need a lot more hit points before I'm willing to give that a go. Specifically, Vanille needs a lot more of her hit points before I'm really willing to give that a go. That's some serious damage. Alright. Slash and burn. Tear him down, baby. Alright.
Did you see that coming?
Maybe we should level up his weapon? I don't know. Zaz being our main damage dealer at those numbers, not really encouraging, you know? Good job, team. You did it. Kind of. I mean, that's not true. You pulled it off. Just not elegantly. Is there an item over there? Somewhere. Alright, buddy. We'll fight you. Oh, it's just the two of you, huh? Forgot. We'll just go to dual casting. That'll kill these enemies a lot faster. That is a very big spell. Also, Zaz takes a long time in between his spells. Have you guys noticed that? I'm pretty sure I brought this up before, but I don't know, man. Maybe that's just a Ravager thing. Your abilities take a while, but like he can't even like actually chain them together. That's how long they take. So we're constantly just doing 100% damage. Now, it really seems best to have it split, have a Ravager, a Commando, and a heal, some sort of defensive character. Segmented Carapace, huh? Sounds neat. Okay, so there's the other item.
I'm not afraid of you.
Okay. Ooh, a Phoenix down. Anything else I need here? And I don't see an item over here, but yeah, I don't see an item up on top, so I don't know why I would necessarily go up there. Ah, so close. Bum-ba-da-dum. That's good. That's good. Seems if they're like 100 and some odd XP. We'll probably get that from this fight. Probably not, but you know, you can always hope. Ooh. Ooh boy. That one hurts.
Lesson learned, kid.
Alright, we'll have her heal him up while he
Didn't even have to ask.
continues to ever so slowly. Alright, now Vanille, please heal thyself. So that you can then help me tear this armored lizard apart. Oof. I mean, he did less damage because he wasn't the full version, but still. Come on. Crank it. Let's try and get that percentage as high as possible then. I want to say the best we've gotten is like 700 on any single enemy. I mean, this we're not gonna pull it off here, but it hasn't had a chance to regrow its carapace. There we go. Spoke too soon.
Follow the old man's lead.
I was kind of hoping that if we could keep just like knocking it around just enough that it wouldn't be able to restore itself. Alright, so we're at about halfway at this point. Alright, Vanille, come on. You need to heal yourself real fast. Good enough. Freaking flies. Yes, I think that was a fly. Either that or like a spider just landed on my head. But I don't think that was the case. Because if it was, I'd still feel it crawling around. And then you'd see me freak out for legit. Not because I'm afraid of spiders in and of themselves. But I have, like, most people when they get bit by spiders get, you know, like little lumps. But I get massive lumps, like almost the size of a baseball. And they're really, really painful. So now, ever since that happened the very first time when I was like 10 or 11, if I see a spider indoors, I kill it. Spiders live outside, and that is where they belong. Oh man, we just barely made it. I mean, we would have been able to kill it, hopefully before it got its next photon attack or whatever off, but still. I'm glad we got there before it could re-equip its shell, because that would have just been a pain. See, enough to get... I mean, not enough to get up to power chain. Whoa! A roll level right in the middle? Boost chain bonus of staggered target upon attacking. Okay. Interesting. And she'll get her second accessory now. Alright, so... do we still want the Belladonna Wand? Improved debuffing. Or improved cure, but less magic power. I'm assuming improved debuffing just increases our chance of debuffing. Doesn't actually improve how strong the debuff is. Magic wall. That just essentially increases our magic defense by 5. You know, I'm thinking about just going with the binding rod. So, magic... yeah, we'll give her just the general damage resistance. That's going to be best on her. $150. So the silver's not going to be good enough. Do we have... anything higher? No. Okay. Actually, your weapons do not offer anything. Stagger maintenance, huh? Wait, do we only get 3 abilities? 3 passive abilities? If that's the case, then we'll probably go back to the Vega 42s. It's kind of annoying that they limit the number of passive abilities we can have. That's a lot of enemies. Alright, get rid of a Vespid soldier. Okay. Yeah, that... not cool, man. Considering how much damage those guys are worth, the fact that they actually have pretty good defenses is a giant pain in my ass.
Thanks, Vanille.
And they have a stun effect because they lift everyone into AoE up and then drop them.
Did you see that coming?
Not cool. Looks like it's targeting Zaz. Yep. And now it's going to go after Vanille, but... Alright, come on. We need to get that thing grown, or the stagger built up, because otherwise it will tick down faster than we can continuously attack. Good job, Vanille. You were really good at healing. Also, I wish we had a better angle for how the gun is put together and comes apart. I'd actually like to watch that in slow-mo and see how they propose that takes place.
We got this, Vanille. Didn't even have to ask.
Because it could be very enlightening into this world, just how their weapon tech works. We know that Lightning's sword kind of folds in when she turns it into a rifle, almost like a balisong, in a way. And we know how Vanille's whip things fold up. We see that every time. Same thing with Fang's staff. We know how it folds up. And the boomerang, I mean, that one's pretty obvious. I don't know why a boomerang folds up, but it does.
Follow the old man's lead. You got this, Vanille.
Yeah, got there just in time to prevent a massive destabilization of our stagger meter.
Follow the old man's lead.
How did I know it was going to attack him?
Thanks,
It's almost
Vanille.
like it was looking directly at him. I wonder if we were on another character, if we might be able to get a better view of his weapon. That's intriguing me right now to no end. I mean, obviously, I'm not letting it go, so...
We got this, Vanille.
Alright, come on, guys. The bigger attacks do increase it by a lot, but they don't really seem to do that much damage. They just like really hit the meter hard. I mean, actually, just these two characters don't hit very hard. They build meter quickly, but they don't do a whole lot of damage. So it was just the one armadillo lizard and the one... Okay. Sure. Whatever you say, game.
It's dying down.
Yeah, it's stopping. And we're decelerating. They up to something?
I don't suppose it could just be, I don't know, good luck?
Yeah, I doubt that.
That looks a lot more like bad luck.
You got a point.
Not to me. That we can do something about.
And those are windbreaks.
Let's turn the tables.
Ooh, we got enemies behind us, too. And there's an item.
Hey, feet stop working?
Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so Commando is done. Ravager is done. Medic. Well, we can't get to either one, but we'll start heading towards HP, because that's going to be the most useful in the immediate future. Also, why do we have this character hanging about that we can't use? We can't switch characters yet, and yet we have Snow hanging out with us in our screen as if we can switch, but they're not letting us. And I want to know why even have him here if you're not going to let us switch over to him. Which, by the way, means that there's another thing that they haven't taught us yet, despite the fact that we're halfway through the game and still, I guess, not done with the tutorial. Although it certainly feels like we're done with the tutorial. Yeah, these perfect conductors are worth a lot of weapon XP. Okay, so let's go back a little ways. Let's backtrack and pick up that item and see what's up. I mean, it might be something that ends up being incredibly useful, like another perfect conductor. Or we might earn a perfect conductor by fighting the Viking. Alright, one left. And no use of the Cyclone ability thus far. Or Areoaga.
That's how it's done.
Good. Yeah, see, this is a damage dealing team. This is actually how you get shit done. Alright, we definitely want the Vestids out of the way. So they're worth... Considering how easy they are to kill, all things considered, they are worth... They're glass cannons. See? Look at that. Just a little bit of effort and some actual damage-dealing classes. Or rather, characters that are good with damage-dealing classes. I mean, it might just be the third character thing. Having a third character is kind of a big deal. Yeah, we'll go with Solidarity. It's better than Entourage for my uses. Because what we want to do is we kind of want to whittle him down with as many attacks as possible as it takes, building up the chain while doing as little building up the chain slowly while doing as much damage as possible. That way we can get him as close to death before we actually activate the stagger chain. Alright. Now that he's using that ability, it's time to immediately get him into the stagger chain. We can't afford to let him continuously do that. And what we will do is we will just juggle him like this was Killer Instinct. Or Street Fighter 3. Oof.
As if there was any doubt.
This seems good. I mean, it doesn't have everything, but it has enough that I like this team. It's so far our best combat experience. Also, there's a lot of these things around.
Back me up.
whole lot of blitz. Yeah, how many of them can we stagger simultaneously? All three? I think so. Yep. Yeah. And are there any items among these air brakes? It does not appear so. Only 2. Well, that shouldn't be a problem. So, one thing that we really need to focus on is upgrade materials and weapon choice. We essentially need to figure out how we want to build these characters.
Just like I planned.
No, I'm saying that's how you juggle people. Like, that was a game like Killer Instinct where air juggling was
As long as I stay focused.
one of those big strategies. It's not a bad thing. It's not my preferred way of fighting games, but it freaking worked, and it worked well. Alright, let's take care of the dragon. There are dragoons that are totally not dragoons. And that upsets me way more than it, in all honesty, should. Yeah, Street Fighter 3, although not widely advertised, was a great game unless you weren't good at juggling. And then it was very aggravating to fight against other players. At least that was my experience at the arcades with Street Fighter 3.
Keep the enemy off balance.
My preferred fighting style is short, quick combos and strong jump-ins. Now, this leaves me susceptible to characters that are really good at punishing, like interrupting short combos, or good at, or players that are good at command grabs on jump-ins, or characters that have good abilities at punishing jump-ins. I unfortunately have, over the years, trained myself into a style of fighting game playing that is very predictable and easily punishable. A lot of games have tools for punishing jump-ins, because jump-in attacks are usually stronger. So if you can punish the jump-in, then you can get essentially a free combo off on the or free command grab. And for a while, I was starting to get okay at command grabs in the first Blaze Blue, but then they kept on putting out new Blaze Blues, and the command grabs were different, and the spacings were different on all the attacks, and honestly, they kept on updating Blaze Blue so frequently that I just couldn't keep up with it. Even though I rather enjoyed the aesthetic and most of the characters. Although I could never get Rachel down, or totally not put Tager. And I had some trouble learning Noelle, but I figured it out. But Tager and Rachel, I just could not, for the life of me, figure out A, how to play as them, and B, how to effectively play against them.
Appreciate it. This will be fun.
Rachel was a big zoner who was able to punish jump-ins, and Tager had a very punishing command grab into a combo for jump-ins. So I tried staying on the ground, but I couldn't outzone, I couldn't defeat Rachel's zoning capabilities, and against Tager, I was never quite capable of figuring out a good way of defeating the power of Tager's command grabs and guard break. The characters that I liked to play were Bong and Hakumen. So characters with strong jump-ins and strong, like, 3 to 4 hit combos. For Street Fighter, I typically liked to play. Early on, I really liked Chun-Li in like Street Fighter 2 days. And then I later got really into oh god, what's his name? Really old man, like really, really old man. Christ. That's gonna bug me until tomorrow. I know it will. Actually, it'll bug me until right after the stream, when I immediately just like snaps into my brain. We will not be able to defeat all of those guys to get to that save point before our time is up. Do we need to, or do we only need to defeat 2 groups? Well, we'll see. Oh boy. There's a lot going on here. A lot of group attacks, hopefully, to deal with them as effectively as possible. Those guys are totally going to use Cyclone now. Well, we got at least a deck drone on
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Here. Thanks.
You looking at me?
Hope, why haven't you been healing, by the way? The character I'm thinking of was another villain, not Akuma, and
Thank you.
I think he was another villain. Wasn't he another villain? Damn.
Thanks.
I actually never really liked the Ken, Ryu, Akuma characters.
New strategy.
Except for Sakura, because she had a lot of limitations. And I liked the idea of Dan, but I could never figure out how to effectively play Dan. this one. Let's get rid of the Vespid soldiers as quickly as possible. Okay.
Wide open.
For most of the early like Budokai games, which I got really good at playing TM, those were a lot of fun, but really, really cheap. See, what other fighting games did I briefly got into Tekken, but already talked about that. I played Steve. And I wasn't that good. I was okay, but... as far as the Soul Calibur games go, I've never been good at any of the Soul Calibur games. Or Soul Edge, if you want to go old school. See here, Street Fighter. I was briefly okay with, in the old days, like Street Fighter 1 and 2, with Sub-Zero, but Sub-Zero has a very good zero to win toolkit, but is not like a long-term, at least back in the day, was not like a long-term contender. Because he didn't have any advanced tools, he just had a lot of like very good beginner's tools. Ooh. Well, that'll make her actually a really good healer. Pretty much out of the blue. Because her medic skills up to now have been kind of lackluster, is I guess the right term. Extend duration of target's existing status enhancements upon bestowing of new ones. Damn. That is nice. Okay. Okay. Now, Hope early on was very ineffective except at anything but healing. But now he's starting to get to the point where... I mean, he's not a great combatant, but... he's starting to become less useless. I'm trying to think of what other, like, big fighting games that I've played. I was never... I was never very good at Soul Edge or Soul Calibur. I was trash tier at Killer Instinct. Just straight trash. And that's about it for the fighting games that I really played. Wait, did I actually save that? I did. Okay, good. So, we are going to go ahead and call it there for tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out. I especially want to thank Henry for participating in chat tonight. Remember that on this Saturday, starting at noon, is our bonus stream and giveaway. If you need a reminder, you can go to our events page right there and set one up for yourself. We're going to be playing Telltale's The Walking Dead: A New Frontier, giving a copy of said game away, as along with a copy of Psychonauts and 3 $20 Steam gift cards. And, you know, I hope you guys join me tomorrow night, where we will continue with more Final Fantasy 13 and more random talks about stuff. Who knows what? Who knows what our topic will be? I kind of I thought I would have had more to say on cybernetics tonight, but I was able to get my points across pretty succinctly and didn't really have much to expound on. Anyway, I'll try to come up with something for tomorrow night. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and again, I hope you'll see me tomorrow, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific time, for more Final Fantasy 13. Have a good night.